John, and the program is the discussion segments of the program, and we are discussing Student Loan Act. Already in the studio with us is a homecoming of one of us, our senior colleague, now is an educationist, now a professor, Professor DELE ODULAMI, Dean, Faculty of Social Sciences, Olabisi Onabanjo University, here in Agowe, in Ogun State. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Nice to see you again after a long time.
I'm excited to see your faces, and you're doing well. Please keep it up.
Thank you very much, sir. And we're expecting a connection from Lagos via Zoom. Is Comrade HASSAN TAIWO, National Coordinator, Education Rights Committee, and as soon as we connect with him, we'll get him on the show. And Simiat.
All right, thank you, Professor. We're discussing the Student Loan and Act, and definitely there has been a lot of back and forth. There are different reactions from different critical stakeholders. I recall ASU saying that this is not supposed to be a loan. It's actually supposed to be a grant to the student. It's more like a permanent debt, according to ASU. I don't know your reaction after the assent of Mr. President last week. Maybe we'll take that before we move forward in the discussion.
Thank you very much. My reaction, which is a personal one, different from the union, that of ASU, is that the loan is a welcome development, no doubt. If I say something is a grant is something you take maybe on one-off basis, and the possibility of its cost renewal and continuity may be dependent on the vicissitudes of the economy. But when you have a loan means that there's a structure in place and payable within a reasonable time, maybe with some conditions, such that the fund can be regenerative and ensure that consistency and continuity, as it were. Although there are contradictions in the Nigerian system that make people and organizations like ASU to believe that we could have gone the extra mile of actually giving a grant, because there are high, avenues and incidences of wastefulness in the economy, wrong priority that seem to tell people that it's not as if we cannot afford this. So why are we? Some people will say if you can afford, for instance, to bankroll or subsidize issues as personal as pilgrimages, to the tunes of billions, why not now give some little grants to encourage education? It's good. But looking at the practicality and then the reality of our polity, we discover that when you are aiming high, to the, maybe you dream high, and you get something that is not as high as what you want, but as a basis for it, a step in the first place, you could say, okay, well, let's start from there, So the idea of the loan, and if you look at the adjustment or the amendment that was made to it that the President just accented, we discovered that is a quite departure, it's quite a major departure from the previous student loan scheme, the 2023 Act. All those areas that Nigerians frowned at, like the areas that talk about the thresholds, of the income of parents, guarantors, and all those, those have been removed, which shows that to a large extent this government, the federal government, is a listening government. It has taken note of that and made the law more accessible and then again easier even for the prospective beneficiaries, as the case may be. So I think, as we say in our local parlance, that half bread is better than nothing. I think it's realistic enough for Nigerians to embrace this. And then let's start with it. There are some contentious areas in that, even in the current act. Maybe in the course of our discussions we can still come to that. But the fact remains that is a step worth taking, because you will agree with me that the economic crunch is having a hard toll on the average Nigerian, and any government policy or gesture that could have a way of relief, whether temporary or whatever, is worth embracing. So that is my own attitude to it, different from what ASU may have as a union.
Okay, Prof. There's this school of thought on this loan that is instead of Nigeria, you agree with me that this loan is not new to Nigeria. It's new to Nigeria, but it's not new across the globe. All over the world, they have student loans and all of that. But some people have the opinion that why don't we continue to subsidize education? Why do you have to impoverish or make the students borrow money to? But is it a silent way of the government saying now we are giving universities, tertiary institutions autonomy? Go and fend for yourself.
Yeah, those are part of the things that ASU is afraid of, and I mean suspects, and they are not quite embracing the loan. But I think we should still be a little patient to see the signs that are coming. When you talk about subsidy, you know that word itself has been bastardized in this part of the world. Subsidy now has become a synonym for corruption and all manners of indiscipline and inefficiency in the system. I mean, take example from the fuel subsidy we're talking about. Anything that is subsidized, you know, people tend to abuse. There are some people in the structure of society that will hijack the policy and then convert the benefits of what ought to be for the masses to personal use. Take a good instance, you know, of this dollar exchange rate, and you can see that, you know, the bankers are actually the people that have hijacked the policy. People just sit down in the comfort of their offices and make billions, you know, of naira in profits, you know, just because they are playing some middlemanship role between government policy and then the beneficiary who are the masses. You get the forex at an official rate, you know, and you have to, you know, distribute to customers, you know, by virtue of your statutory position in the system, and before you know it, a fraction of it is distributed legally, the other fractions are diverted to the foreign, to the black market, and we see people turning in stupendous, you know, turnovers that are not even realistic with the dictates and the, you know, the dynamics of the economics. I mean, of the economy, so to say. And at the end of the day, the ordinary man is supposed to benefit from that policy is actually languishing. That's an instance of those things that come out of this policy. I mean, subsidizing, you know, issues. You know, look at the one that happens at the, for the market. I mean, the NNPC and what have you. I mean, the one that talks with the petrol and what have you. So you see people imagine, you know, billionaires all of a sudden, because what is declared is actually, you know, what is the expectations. So when you bring such a policy to the education sector, you know, there are people too within the system that will still find a way, even at the level of the ministry, at the level of policy. Look at TED Fund. The TED Fund has this is a product of ASU's struggles and agitations, and brilliant motive. I mean, it's supposed to cushion the effect of the hardship on the sector, but the point is that even the institutions that are supposed to, you know, access TED Fund loans, I mean TED Fund's interventions, how easy is it? If people who know the integrity about this fund tell you, you know, the contradictions that are inherent in the system, and you marvel, and that is one of the reasons why some of these actions of government are not being felt by the beneficiaries. So I will still believe that yes, our government has what it takes to actually subsidize education, you know, in a reasonable way. But the point is that because of the weaknesses and fault lines in our system, there are possibilities too that these policies, even when formulated, may not be to the benefit of the people who should get out.
And when you listen to the president talk about the people, which he has directed this, he talked about the poor, no matter your background. If you are poor in Nigeria, no matter your background, you are not excluded from quality education and opportunity to build your own future. And we also look at one of the things being said by the critical stakeholders, one saying that is oversubscription not going to be a matter in the course of, of practicing this particular law. And yes, another reaction to this argument would be that, the major target, the poor, which the president described, are they also going to get benefit. Quality, in terms of the quality of education, and looking at what we have right now on ground?
Yeah, those are legitimate, fears, really. But you believe that no system is ever perfect. As innovations are made, suggestions are made, people begin to study, you know, the main idea or the system, and then, you know, fault lines will emerge and checks will come as to how to, because initially part of the way of regulating the application and ensuring that the program is not hijacked was what led to the suggestion of that parent income threshold in the first place that time. Once your parents, father or mother, if their income is not above 500,000 naira per annum or whatever, that that you are qualified. And that's to eliminate people who are relatively comfortable. But when arguments came and people expressed that even that 500 threshold is something, you know, too much for the ordinary man on the street, that was what led to its complete removal. Of course, like you have rightly said, it will raise the issue again of widening the net and then creating all sorts of. But I think there are some. If you read the act very well, the institutions are going to play major roles because one, you have to have been admitted. You have to show evidence that you're already running a program or the other. So you get largely your recommendation from the institutions. So that one provides, you know, sufficient basis for moderating, you know, the excesses of medicine interlopers.
So the quality of education now, we, you know, would have it now that, you know, there are students that cannot even gain admission into universities based on not really because they do not have financial muscle to do that, but because, you know, you talk about the population, how much institutions are going to admit, and some even get out of the country because of that. So if we have an open door, because of course the target audience might not actually get the fact.
I think the point really is that they call it Nigeria Education Loan Funds, and then the act itself is the Access to Higher Education, you know, Act. What it means is that for you to be qualified in the first place, you will be a student. And you are not a student until you got admission.
So for people that do not have the opportunity to move across that bridge of getting admission,
you are not a student. You are not a student yet.
Okay.
So to that extent, you may not. There may still be other programs fashioned for such kind of people. Quite all right. And you will see that within the threshold of this present left fund, as it is called, you discover that it's no longer restricted to tertiary institutions in terms of universities and polytechnics. They've even widened the net to incorporate technical, vocational institutions that are impacting skills. This is a way of catering, you know, for others. But for those who may still be within that bracket of not even getting admission, I think with time there will be interventions that can take care of their own specific interests. I think the major thing in this case now is that we should let it work. We should let it work. There are contradictions, like I said. For instance, government says 2 years after NYSC, you should now be able to be paying the money back. It means that within 2 years, graduates from institutions and beneficiaries of those, of that particular fund, will have got what we call it, meaningful employment. So this is another challenge now for government. Because there's what we call, lawyers call it force majeure, or when you have a situation or circumstance that's beyond your control. If I don't have a guarantee that I'll have a job in 5 years.
And when you get a job, what kind of job do you have?
And then, that's what we call it, meaningful employment. You know, at times you may be employed, you may not be gainful, but the employment may be underemployment. A graduate doing something that is beneath, you know, his status or whatever. But the point really, exactly, the point is that when you get to the reverse, of course, and you know, there's a provision in the law too, that law, that also provides a kind of safety valve that says debt relief, debt forgiveness in the event where maybe due to some natural causes you are unable to pay back. That is, but there could be situations too. If somebody leaves school 5 years, has not got a job, And I mean, even
That's
in law courts, you cannot force it to pay.
Nance is saying that government should extend that to 5 years.
No. Extending it will mess it up.
Okay.
You know, but I think it's good. It's realistic enough to say, okay, we are projecting that after 2 years, other things being equal, you know, you should have got an employment. You know, then when you don't get an employment, maybe some entrepreneurship ideas or innovation that could get you, you know, meet your needs. To that extent, you could still pay back. Mind you, it is the payback, you know, prospects of this loan that will make it to be continuous. That will make it, you know, for other generations of students to, you know, have access and benefit from it. That part is important, but it's not even too difficult too, if our politicians are really serious. I just told you of the wastages and the leakages in the system. If you plug those ones, we could have interventions too that can make employment available. For instance, look at our civil service all over. In this country, you know that a chunk of the labor force are employed by this sector. But you find people that are old enough to have retired, cutting their ages and remaining. We have the contradiction of government extending length of service at a time when teeming masses of people leaving the institutions are not being employed. Those are the contradictions. I mean, and the reason for that is that when you don't have a functional pension system, if you have a pension system that makes people to look up to retirement, you know, people can voluntarily say, look, I want to go and rest, I've done enough, and then get their entitlement and do some things that will make their life comfortable after they have spent active years in service, and then thereby leave opportunities for new blood to be injected into the system. These are the kind of things I expect government to think about, because when you widen the employment net by making, in corporate institutions like oil companies, all these multinational companies, when they notice that your age, you are getting to a level where your productivity is not coming at their expectations, they give you offers of voluntary retirement with sumptuous package that you can just take your job, let me go and rest, and allow other people to come in. That kind of thing is what we need. But when somebody leaves a system, years after, he's still keen to collect a pittance that cannot even sustain him health-wise and otherwise. That's why a lot of people are afraid of leaving the system, and they keep on going to swear affidavit and doctor their ages and whatever to die in service. So when this is not, when it's removed, and you continually give opportunity to inject new blood, you know, to the system, people leaving the institutions will have, you know, employment. And once they have employment, they can pay back whatever loans they've got. That is what happens elsewhere. Yeah. People, the government creates opportunities so that you can even be tracked. It has been so mechanized in developed countries to the point that it is you yourself, you know, that will voluntarily say, okay, yes, and what is the rate of repayment? 10% of your income, which is something you may not even feel, and you pay back, and the system continues to run. Those are the kind of things that I think that once we put it in place, it will make this kind of concept, you know, to be functional and be of ultimate benefit to the society at large.
All right, Prof. This law is not 100%. Definitely there are some loopholes. Yeah. You spoke about TED Fund and how people have taken advantage of it. Yeah. Now, NEL Fund, they are meant to bring about a guideline. Yeah. In line with this law that people will operate by. Now the question is, if the net is widening and people are coming, how do we ensure accountability on the part of NEL Fund? How do we ensure that they are efficient enough to track these people? Are they going to have branches in all institutions? These are the little detail.
No, I think you study out very well. You discover that there are some, even in the art, the first part of it provides for the structure of NEL Fund itself in terms of administration, its corporate identity, in terms of what do you call it, it can be sued, it also can sue, and there are other structures there that guarantees its continuous efficiency, like other organizations, quite all right. But the question about the challenges that normally challenges we might look at the case of TED Fund. People get TED Fund loan to the tunes of 50 million or whatever, and they go abroad, to study, and after they are done, remain there. Some of them will come and just, it is from there they will even write back and tell you they are resigning, bond or no bond. These are the things that are, reducing the efficiency of TED fund. You can imagine an organization, your country is spending as much as 50 million on you, and then you going outside the church when you are not supposed to bring that benefit back, and you now use it to service a foreign, economy. This and that too, that decision too, is a function of the internal contradictions we have in our system too. If our standard of living is so poor that a professor will get a salary that is equivalent to what a cobbler is getting in another economy, why will I now come and suffer here? That is why. So you can also factor that in. If I'm a beneficiary of NEFON and the economy still remains the way it is, God forbid, and I graduate from the system and I now jackpot, whether I'm a medical student or whatever, I jackpot, how will NEFON track me to the point now of getting the money back? So a lot still depends on the government to fashion out a superstructure that will make our home economy, active and rewarding, such that all this investment in the manpower will not be something another economy will, hijack.
All right. Earlier on, I spoke to you about establishing connection with Comrade HASSAN TAIWO, the National Coordinator of Education Rights Commission in Lagos. Now we have established connection. Comrade TAIWO, nice to have you this morning. Comrade TAIWO, can you hear us?
Okay.
I think we need to do something about the audio there. But still with you, Prof. This is Nigeria, where anything is possible. Anything, good or bad, it's possible in Nigeria. Now, the law says that after 2 years after post-NYSC, you are supposed to pay back. Anyone that can't pay back should go to the law courts to do an affidavit and all of that. But like I said earlier, this is Nigeria. What if people bypass this process and they jump the process and defraud this institution? What do you think? The law says it's felony.
Yes, but 3 years.
How would you establish this? How do they track this?
Establishing it is as simple as anything. It's a contract. As at the time you are signing, those conditions are there, you know what to actually sign in. But beyond defaulting, I think the major thing I think government should do is actually, to not just granting the loan itself, do a kind of follow-up by making sure there are complementary, programs in the economy that make people to see the benefits, of the larger picture, beyond our own personal, interests or whatever. If I benefit from a program, for instance, and I know that is for continuity, others, there's no need depriving others of the benefit that will come from it.
All right, we can now join Comrade HASSAN now. Comrade HASSAN, good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thanks for having me.
Nice having you this morning. Quick one to you, straight up. This Students' Loan Act, I'm sure you have your take on it. I would like to have your take, and also to what should the students now do now that this law has been signed by the President?
Well, thank you very much for that question. First and foremost, I think it's important to say that unlike what the government of the DELE has been saying, that the Student Loan Act is going to open access to public education, the Student Loan Act is going to do the direct opposite. We have been on this for the past 10 months, explaining why this is not the best policy to resolve the crisis that faces public education in Nigeria. Because first and foremost, there is no evidence yet that the wealth that this country has is not enough to fund public education. There is no evidence yet that Nigeria is too poor to provide education for its citizens. The other point is that another part of the world where this policy has been borrowed from, the student loan has caused irreparable damage to people's future. In the US, for instance, a big majority of young people do not further their education to the college because of the fear of indebtedness that comes with the student loan. Just last month, President Biden actually carried out a student loan or bad loan in the US system due to the student loan. Is the biggest reasons why people cannot settle down, why they cannot raise a family. And that is a country where there is some access to jobs. So that you come to Nigeria where graduates don't get jobs 7-10 years after graduation, where there's low pay and all of that, then you can imagine the terrible repercussion that this student loan is going to have. And why we need to take it from this angle is because it is not just a question of the conditionalities. We have gone beyond that. All of last year, we debated conditionalities with this government, and I recognize that in the new act there will be some improvement of that. But I'm saying fundamentally, this is not what Nigeria's education needs at the moment.
All right, what do we need? You said we don't need this at the moment. Can you suggest to us what the Nigeria tertiary education system needs right now?
In December last year, the Education Right Campaign, the group that I speak for, we did a forensic analysis of the Student Loan Act 2023, not this current one. And we looked at the argument that the government was bringing forward as well. And we discovered that from the point of view of the challenges of funding that the government said, that there are 5 sources of funding that the government has not yet looked at that will provide an extra sum of 1.7 trillion naira on an annual basis that the government can utilize as intervention funds for public universities and polytechnic education, which will mean that there will be no need for fee increment and there will be no need for a student loan. So, for us, funding of education at all levels on an adequate basis is something that is still possible in this country. And we have the data for that. We have presented to the government that people they are only ignorant.
All right, Comrade, it is interesting the dimension you're taking this conversation, because I want to believe that for the first time the particular act was initiated, or it was initiated by the president, it was largely talking about a group of people in the society that cannot afford to get higher education, tertiary education, for instance. And of course, in catering for that group of people, that's why something like this was provided for. That's the scheme per se. Even though with the issue of on the funding of the higher institutions, we have that on one hand, but there are still some people that cannot afford the current price or the current tuition in the higher institutions that we have. And this loan, this scheme is particularly tailored towards addressing that. So what is the fate of those people that cannot afford? They are in different parts of Nigeria, and of course you understand what is going on in the northern part of the country, out of school children in millions, and of course you know how to tackle that kind of problem without a scheme like this. I don't know what you think about the fate of the people that are supposed to be direct beneficiary of this particular scheme.
I'll like to rephrase your question this way. Some 40, 50 years ago, when Nigeria wanted to develop, as a newly independent country, wanted to begin to develop its human resource, how did it tackle the challenge of expanding public education? It did it by pumping public resources to establish schools, to ensure that they were well provisioned, to train teachers, and to pay them and to that of what the government. That is what is needed in the northeast of the country today. That is what is needed across the country today. That was the kind of education that the current generation of leaders is going to benefit from. Without free education in the Western region, without that education across the country in the 60s and 70s, the current generation of Nigerians and of leaders will not have been to vote. But All government need to do is to pump more money to those schools, get those school fees reversed, and everything will be okay.
Okay, talking about everything being okay, sorry, let me take that. You've talked about the developed countries that are also practicing the same scheme, and what you've done largely is to tell us the negatives. Of course, there are also positives, talking about the people that benefited from this particular scheme, having to go to school with this loan, and in fact, the former president of the US, Barack Obama, also talked about how they got loans into the universities, and they became something better. Can we look more into the positives, moving forward, and not dwell so much on the negatives, such that as you're campaigning that government should pump money in the higher institutions, they're also doing something on the other side, which is this loan for others, for everybody to be captured at the end of the day?
See, my sister, we should not blackmail ourselves by saying that we must always balance things with the positive. We are human beings, humanity has a standard. Nigeria itself will have a standard. The point I'm making is that what will be the standard policy and program to ensure that Nigerian people are able to achieve their potential. That is what we are discussing, and I'm saying that a student loan scheme only will ensure that a minority of people will actually be able to accomplish tertiary education. And that's why it's been everywhere. If you look at the example of United States, you're saying, how much have been impossible? I'm saying that it makes people not well impossible. Because America now is the first world country which parades very scandalous statistics of illiteracy, which will not be found in society when they first world. It is true. Because we are social where, for instance, a good percentage of young people to follow culture. College. That for me is not something that we should bring to a new colonial. And I'm saying again that for the young colonial country in Nigeria, the capital of people work at that place because you have in the US, for instance, even the size of the economy. The government can tie off the loans, the bank loans regularly. In the context of Nigeria, because you have a different dimension of people even think on economic like when you have good people. In 1974, we had the student loan before, where on the basis of this management that good for it will not. But again, if you look at the sources of money on student loan, 1% of taxes and levies, these are normally sectors of the economy where tech funds are deriving resources for funding of the infrastructures of public institutions. So, the point of therefore is that if government was able to establish tech for the rate of access through in the 90s and over the past 30 years or thereabouts, that able to demonstrate how public resources can be utilized, to provide infrastructure, modern infrastructure for public institutions. Why can't we deal with that by increasing these taxes in order to build up a good wonderful fund for the fund of public education? But if our government says that this will be provided as a loan that will be paid back on a long-term basis. See, we have to go back to the grand money again. It is ideology. We are those in charge of this country today who believe that public education cannot be provided either free of charge or a subsidized level for Nigeria. That is what they are saying. And we are also hearing that at the end of the day, this system will also be expanded to private institutions. In fact, what the director of the network has said is that public institutions will be the pilot institution. Later on, it will be expanded to private institutions.
So is that not contradictory now?
That they don't have a run public institutions. Because as a student, for instance, what would it mean for me if I take a loan once in a 5 or 10 million, I'm going to pay over the next 2 years, and I decide to then register a public institution that may waste my time spending 6 or 7 years for an academic program. Whereas I have private institutions that I can go to, because I can get a loan. So what I'm going to have is that within a period of 10 years, students of public institutions are going to be reduced to the target level, and that's going to cause job losses for staff. So that's the point if I have to.
Okay.
For instance, that's why, for instance, I'm fighting on this because by introducing the student loan, what the government is simply saying is that it is not more interested in providing public resources for the funding of public education. And we have to insist that this cannot be. For us, the new right campaign, we think that even for those who have the mission at this point today, it's only a matter of time before they will see what will happen. Don't forget that just about 13 years ago or thereabout, privatization of the power sector was out there as the magic wand. That will solve the problem of power pollution and stuff. But here we are today, everybody has seen just how terrible privatization is. That is what is going to be the end of this general policy of investment.
All right. Before I ask you any question, Comrade, I think I will allow Prof to react to this. Prof.
He has said a lot of things.
Yes, I think I appreciate the excitement and the concerns of their comrade. Some of his friends are very logical. I've really spoken about some of this before he came on stream. The only reservation I have, I'm a member of HASSAN, and what he has said is not different from what HASSAN is saying as a body. But the point really is that personally, I'm looking at this issue from the angle of realism, different from idyllic policies or postulations. I have had cause to attend many education summits where presenters with scientific evidence have been able to prove that in the global world we are now and in this 21st century, free education can be good to a large extent for primary and secondary school level, but at the tertiary level, nowhere in the world can you guarantee completely free education. And if you take a lesson from history, I grew up through hard work and the efforts of my parents who were poor. So I cannot now talk as a bourgeoisie and say that education should not be free. But realistically, and as somebody who has worked in the system for decades, I want to tell you that the moment you say something should be free, you are opening the door for complete bastardization. Take a cue from what happened during the free education program that our sage introduced. You got a point that promotion had to be automatic because you cannot repeat a class. By repeating a class, you will be depriving others of the benefits. So you pass to fail, we push you off because we were having mass. So the question now became, what do you choose from quality or quantity? Those were the issues that arose as a result of that. At the tertiary level today, and that's why a lot of people prefer even private institutions that I imagine today to public ones, because these ones have quality by virtue of the financial chest of those who are sponsoring them or what have you. But thank God for the intervention of TED Fund in the recent years. There have been a lot of overhauling in public, but we are not there yet. We are not there yet. So the point is that it is not going to be absolutely free. It's not possible. It's not possible. Most of these institutions that are doing well today have applied the private model in some adjusted ways, not completely, so that you can make input and output to correlate. That is the angle I'm looking at it. The moment you say free, even the beneficiaries themselves will abuse it. Like you just cited the example of what happened in this developed world, where people are not even keen in even going to school at all. When they go to school, they go to fail because they are not, there's nothing that, it's government, everything is at the expense of government. But you can imagine a Nigerian now that knows the process through which his parents were really going to get him in school, and you get to school and mess up the opportunity. It's not going to be true. So what I'm thinking about is that intervention like TED Fund is at the level of structure, is at the level of the institution, in terms of the manpower, in terms of the facilities and what have you. But the student loan fund is going to be a loan fund, is going to be intervention at the level of access, which is the students themselves. Students cannot access TED Fund. It's lecturers that access TED Fund. And I told you even the loopholes within that system, that a lot of them access, travel out, and then the jackpot there, and then the institution remains, and they remain as barren as they are. But there are effort being made to make sure that people are accountable at that level. But to the level of access, the students themselves, what is their own take home? So if you give them an opportunity like this, like I said, I've read is better than if I'm waiting for our present crop of politicians, to come and make things free or to provide a kind of Eldorado that it will never come. Because look at the minimum wage issue we are talking about. What is the fraction of that part of the budget that will go to reduce the stress on the level of the majority of the masses? It's not that significant compared to what they corner. Look at the totality of the political elites in this country. They are not even up to 1 million. And we are over 200 and something million. So, but what they get in terms of emolument, legal and illegal, outweighs the quantum that the ordinary man takes off. So they are in class. They will always be struggling for what comes to their own exclusive usage than what gets to the masses. But in the meantime, if there is a gesture or intervention that has the prospect of at least easing the pains in terms of what comes to the masses, I think logic and reality presumes that we should take advantage of it. I mean, if somebody is going to give you a loan in this present Nigeria without interest anyway, without interest, do you look at a gifted horse in the mouth? You still take it and pray that you're able to refund it back or pay it back at the appropriate time. But you will have, nobody can take your certificate away from you. Nobody can take that skills that you have acquired through that access away from you. But by the time you say, no, this thing is good, this is not, we're not allowing you to work, the money will still go back to these people that have been using it exclusively or over time. So that's my whole approach to it, that this is the first time that the masses may have that real opportunity at least to have a stake and have a taste of what really belongs to them. And we keep on agitating and want, who says there cannot be debt forgiveness for instance? Let us appropriate it first. If reality shows that you are not able to pay over time and you say the opportunity is there, go to court. Sorry, sir, I left school, so I have not got a gainful employment, but I will still pay every time I get to work. They won't kill you on that. Then you have got your certificate.
Maybe we'll have to take Comrade's comment again, because now the student's loan is now an act rather, and it's just like every other conversation going on is going to take effect very soon, and people are going to be subscribing to this particular act. So what exactly will it be your take moving forward from where we are right now in the country?
A few years ago, I think it was year 2009, fees were increased at the Lagos State University last year. I'm sure that the Comrade Prof in the house will remember that scenario. And many people, including some students and even lecturers, felt that with the increment, some progress would come to the university system in Lagos State. It took 3 years for years these predictions to come to pass. Within those 3 years, the university almost became an empty shell, with thousands of students leaving and very few coming in. It got to a point, for instance, where you are in some department in last, maybe 6 professors, 20 PhD holders, but they only had maybe 15 students. And of course, in that situation, job losses became a reality. It was at that point that what we have been saying over the years, that there is no solution to public funding or public education. It became something that everybody had to attend to. I went down this road to show that we are not in the business of just opposing everything for the sake of it.
So you're not in support of the act at all? Is that what you're saying?
Let him finish. Just make a point.
It is so aware that from an analytical point of view, we understand that there are certain ways that society can go. Society do not progress on the basis of privatization. That only leads to inequality. And that's why I think that these two will act regardless of what improvements. And I hope that the the movement that we have in this act is a product of our work.
Yes.
It was our intentions. I must have to ask you.
Yeah.
But what we are saying is that the issue of student loan is not just about improving one provision. It is the policy itself that is fundamentally unworking.
Okay.
Because one of the character of society we have. Then two, because it is even morally indefensible. And I would like to go to reality. It's a different point of view. If Nigeria is fully poor, we are cash trapped, and we are prepared to take certain economic decisions. That is not palatable, but it's inevitable. This country is not poor. This country votes billions of naira every year for privileges free of charge. It's not more inflation here. No benefit is in society. We need to have direct
conversation.
But it is the lack of our young we are talking about. When we have a water in the northeast, it is because society in the north failed to invest in public education. The only reason why security has not prevailed in the western part of the country is the legacy of the free education program. The student loan, a pro-liberal policy, is going to destroy that foundation. So what would be the character of society in the next 20 years in the Southwest, for instance, on the basis of this educational program?
Our parents are ready to change us anyway.
We are going to face a situation whereby two classes of people will be able to advance up to the level of higher education in public. Those whose parents have money that can pay the ITs, because the student loan, fees was going to go higher. No university management now you get to listen to stories that don't include the fees. All the people tell you that you have a no scheme, to
bank on.
Right?
Okay.
The second number of people who be able to go to school in this new dispensation we are going to will be those who are able to access the loan. And I use what access the loan because people are not sure of what the president has said. He called.
Okay, maybe we would have to. Comrade, because of our time, we deeply appreciate your contribution on today's program. Comrade HASSAN TAIWO, National Coordinator, Education Rights Committee. You have really spoken as a comrade this morning, defending the rights of the people. Of course, I don't know if you have a reaction to the last comment.
He has not said anything significantly different from my takeoff point. I did mention the fact that we have resources that actually can make education free, except that people hijack this process, just like the policy of subsidizing that we have witnessed elsewhere. But in the interim, or realistically speaking, we just know that the student loan idea is worth embracing based on the hardship the ordinary Nigerian is having there. I mean, some of us even took loans on personal level to fund our education. So if government is going to give us that opportunity now, so be it.
So why not?
So I think it's a step that in the right direction. The inconsistency, the weaknesses, the fault lines can be perfected over time.
All right. I want to say a big thank you to Comrade HASSAN TAIWO. Thank you for bringing another narrative to the story. I hope you have your commitment next time when we need you to speak to another issue on education. You'll be there for us.
Yeah, we will.
All right, I want to say a big thank you to Professor ODULAMI. He is actually one of us. He doesn't have a choice, really.
Thank you.
Anytime we call,
I'm really proud of you guys. Please keep it up.
Thank you very much, sir. And I thank you for being there for us since we started New Dawn, and we have to draw the curtain. Thanks to the production team for putting this together, and Simiat.
We would have to go. Thank you so much for being a part of this. New Dawn continues on Wednesday and of course on Friday. O.O.U will be back tomorrow. Stay well and keep watching the People's Daily. Bye for now.